Playing a game as fast as possible can be a good challenge, but do you know what's even harder than that? Playing it without looking. There's a relatively small community of gamers that do this, performing blindfolded speedruns of games they enjoy. But how is it possible? And what goes into successfully finishing a game this way? Do they really know it that well? I wanted to find out for myself, so I got into contact with one of the more well-known blindfolded speedrunners I could find, Bubzia. Bubzia is known for his blindfolded speedruns of the 1996 classic Super Mario 64. He's been doing this for quite a number of years now alongside some other games, but his Mario speedruns helped bring him into the spotlight. While he has quite an impressive track record, I just wanted to know, how? How does he not just accidentally wander around aimlessly?
It definitely is a bit more tricky than like just playing the game normally, for sure. Like you need some kind of practice before you do it, that's guaranteed. But honestly, because I know when you see blindfolded speedruns, especially for the first time, it looks so insanely intimidating that like, okay, this is insanely hard. You need to be a god gamer to do this. When you try it yourself and when you understand the concept of it, like it becomes definitely much easier than it looks, because it's just a different way to play games. It's not like playing a game with eyes, but it's more like a logical puzzle, you know, that you need to solve. Like, how can I go from A to B consistently without looking, you know? And it's just different, at least in the beginning. It becomes really difficult when you start to implement speed strats into it as well.
Now I wanted to ask you, what are like some of the strategies, if you could explain them, that goes into being able to successfully do a blindfolded run?
So normalization is probably one of the first words that you hear when you get in touch with blindfolded runs. It can have different meanings. There are like normalized positions, for example. There are normalized setups. And long story short, what it means that it is something consistent that you can reliably replicate. So a normalized position is a place where you know with 100% confidence where you are on the map. Let's, for example, say you are in a room and you are blindfolded and you have no idea where you are exactly. But one point in the room you can definitely know where you are is in the corner. Because if you hit the corner, you are standing against the two walls and yeah, they meet and you know you are in the corner, and that's the normalized position. Usually in blindfolded they come together with audio cues as well. So in Mario 64, when Mario walks, he makes like footsteps, and as soon as you reach the corner, there's like a that's the point, you know, okay, I am here, I arrived in the normalized position. It's like a confirmation of your position. And the same can be said for normalized setups. So if you start in a normalized position and then only use normalized moves, a normalized move is basically some movement that always moves you the same expected way. So anything you do with the analog stick, for example, like holding up for 1 second, that would be not normalized, because sometimes you count 1.2 seconds. You cannot exactly count 30 frames. Like that's not possible for a human. But if you, for example, do not touch the analog stick and just do a backflip, the backflip always 100% will move Mario, I think, like, let's say 50 units backwards, because it is a fully normalized move. Or like a punch. If you punch with Mario, he moves a tiny bit forwards with every punch. And you can like chain these, for example. Those are normalized moves. So you can make like normalized setups that go from like normalized position to normalized position without ever losing basically track of where you are, because nothing can influence where you are if everything is like super consistent. So those are like the basics. We don't really actively use normalized movement in that sense anymore, that like, okay, we count now 50 punches or so, because it's slow. And most normalized movement is slow in its nature, because yeah, it's usually something that like is a fixed distance, but it always stops and then you need to redo it and then it stops. And to make things faster, we have different techniques, and this is the next thing I would like to talk about, which is beat counting, because beat counting is probably the most important and also most powerful technique in blindfolded speedruns. So what it is, that basically you can imagine that you have a metronome, like it ticks every, I don't know, X BPM, like ding, 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 ding. And this metronome, you count and perform different inputs based on every single beat. And we, of course, don't have a metronome lying around. So what do? We count the background music, because that's something that we can hear actively during the gameplay. So, for example, if we enter stage X, then there is a song like, you know, and every single song in this world has a tempo. Like, that's just music theory. So you can like, and then you have this beat like 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You take this beat from the background music and just count it while you play, and then you bind inputs to the beat. So you basically transform the game into a rhythm game. So on beat 1, you hit up on the joystick and A. On beat number 2, you hit left on the joystick. On beat number 3, you hit up left on the joystick. And then you can map out the entire game as a form of a rhythm game, which you then just play without looking. And that's how you can create extremely, extremely fast setups, because you can go as precise as you need. If one whole beat in the background music is not enough, you can count half beats, you can count quarter beats, so like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you can like go even faster, and eventually it's too precise to count as a human, but you can make basically visual looking setups like this. You have so much room for fluid movement in the game, and it's so powerful.
No, that makes sense. Interesting. So would this mean that all blindfolded runners are good musicians as well, or no?
I mean, it's funny. It's very funny, because I wouldn't say so per se, because I myself am not a really good musician, I think. I only know beat counting from gaming. I learned this whole thing just from Mario. But many blindfolded runners are in fact good musicians. For example, there is a blindfolded run of Super Mario Bros. By Crescendo, which is very, very close to visual speed. It's like 5 minutes and a couple of seconds. So it's like only 15 seconds slower than the visual world record. And Crescendo is like a drummer. You can imagine the entire run is just fluid beat counting.
Already, Bubzia provided some interesting insight. Counting the beat of the background music playing is actually pretty genius, since playing blindfolded, you would otherwise not have an exact sense of time. No matter how much someone thinks they know a game, without visuals, the task becomes so much harder, especially with a movement-intensive game like Mario 64. What I also find interesting is that he mentioned the runner Crescendo, who plays the original Super Mario Bros. Without looking. See, Mario 64 is different in that, even if beat counting wasn't used, you at least had footsteps you could listen to, which would confirm you're moving. Super Mario Bros., though, bro doesn't make a noise, except for jumping and shooting a fireball.
I would say you could basically turn even the audio off and you could count everything, but that's also not fully true, because there's like RNG and stuff, so you need to react sometimes to some things.
Yeah, just when you thought normalized positions and beat counting were the key to everything, each game will throw its own luck factor into the mix. The luck, known as RNG, which is short for random number generator, can turn even the most consistent setups on their head, completely throwing blindfolded runners off course.
Blindfolded speedrunning unfortunately goes hand in hand with very often needing to be lucky. Because we just have no visuals. Very easy tasks that you don't even notice that you're doing it visually, because it goes like automatic. But in blindfolded, they become like the biggest challenge of your life. And in many of these instances, one of the only solutions is to get a bit lucky. To give some concrete examples, in Super Mario 64, back in the days at least, we had a strat for the chain chomp star, which is like the very first star in the run. Back then, we did not do bomb clip, which is like the visual speed strat, which is very difficult and not many people do it yet. But I myself also didn't like to release the chain jump because it was slow. So what I did was a third technique, which is called box clip. And in visual speedruns, you can line yourself up that you basically clip through the fence with the box in your hand. But in blindfolded, it is like you hold up and Mario just stops in a random position. Like, it is basically a coin flip. It was literally, I think, like 30% you get through, 30% you don't get through, and the other 30% was like complete a mess. Like, everything just goes through wrong. And to this day, we don't have that many like fully RNG strats anymore, just because they are bad and we want to get not only faster but also more consistent. So lots of the routing that we do is exactly for this reason, to remove as much RNG as possible. There's still also RNG that kills runs. Like, there's enemies that can just be in your path and then they hit you and you fall off the stage. That's like a completely normal everyday scenario that happens to me literally every stream.
I can't imagine, because I believe you also did 120 star, correct? Blindfolded. I can't imagine how much luck
Oh yeah.
was in that. That's so long. There's so much.
There was lots more RNG than in every other category too, especially since like the 100 coin stars, since lots of them involved killing enemies for coins. But in Mario 64, it's unfortunate that the coins that drop out of enemies, they spawn and fly out into random directions. So you somehow need to get those coins after you kill an enemy, and it was usually just like run in circles and bless to everything that you hit that coin somehow. Yeah, it was rough.
But mad respect though for putting up with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I'm curious, did you find most of the strategies, or were like a bunch of other people involved with discovering better ways, better strats and stuff?
So these days, lots of the basic strategies I made myself. Back in the days, we had like a couple of other top runners who were active, like Nobody, for example, the Japanese runner who was like extremely high level. Nobody also created lots of strategies, which by now, I think most of them are kind of outdated already. But generally speaking, most of them I created, with a big remark that it's like usually a much more community effort than you would think. Because how it usually plays out is that like I try something on stream, like, okay, I want to improve this star. And then I try all my different ideas that I have with my blindfolded knowledge, you know. And then I find like something that looks okay, and I try to make it work. And then it just doesn't work for like 5 days straight or so. It's not good. And then someone in chat just throws out the like most unhinged idea ever, like completely out of nowhere, like something you would never think about. And I usually say like, no, that's so stupid. That's not gonna be useful at all. And then I try it, and like it works. It's so funny because so many improvements of strategies, at least, have been just found by like random first-time chatters and stuff that like probably don't even have speedrun knowledge, but they just see the game from a different perspective, you know, and then we optimize it from there. We also have some other like community members who are like very active in routing blindfolded specific strats. They also have lots of ideas. And then we take all of this and just bunch it together into like the final outcome that is like the best strat ever. Different ideas from different kinds of people. I don't want to like take credit here for everything, for sure.
Right, no, I got you. That's funny though. Even your chat comes together and helps you find out strats. That's just...
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Chat is the best, dude. That's such a huge help for routing.
So, Mario 64, was that your first choice for a blindfolded run, or were there any other ideas?
It was my very first choice, mostly because I also started with blindfolded speedruns and not with speedruns, which is not the usual entryway. So how it was basically that the only kind of speedrun I've ever seen before was from SM64. It was some random GDQ run, I think by like Cheese or something. Since I only knew like a bit of SM64, and it was a game that I really played a lot when I was a kid. So I had like some experience in the game, but never speedrunning really. So that was kind of just the first thought that I had, like, yeah, let's try that blindfolded. Maybe it's impossible, but maybe I can do something. And yeah, I did like 1 star on the first day I tried it, so it was really motivating to try. But when I started routing SM64, it really quickly became apparent that, okay, I want to do this for other games too, because this is so much fun. This is like so cool to do. And since then, my to-do list of games that I want to blindfold just keeps growing. It's never been empty so far.
And you would be open to like maybe doing some of those in the future, perhaps, if you feel like you're content with the stuff that you've done in Mario 64, maybe, or...
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the past, I also did lots of other blindfolded runs. Usually how it was so far is that I played Mario 64, and then that was like my main game, of course, but usually after like one big achievement that I did, I usually stepped away from the game and tried my hands on other blindfolded runs. After SM64, for example, I did like Pokemon, which is like very different because there's lots of memorization needed. Or I did Metroid, where there's lots of precise 2D platforming needed, you know? And like these different kinds of skill sets from different kinds of genres eventually led to me getting better at Mario as well. So I came back to Mario and improved my times in Mario, and then like, again, stepped back, did other games, and it is just like a cycle back and forth at this point. To come back to the question, I definitely would and do come back to other games every now and then. I currently still have Breath of the Wild and Smash Bros. 64 in my repertoire, but I definitely also have plans for other games too.
Oh, interesting. Breath of the Wild, that's a... That sounds like a challenge and a half. Bubzia saying that he was interested in blindfold running The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, an already massive open-world Zelda game, was very intriguing. Compared to Mario 64 with its, by comparison, smaller worlds and more primitive 3D modeling, Breath of the Wild would have much more intricate details and obstacles to maneuver, and quite possibly even more room for bad things to happen due to RNG.
Yeah, I hear it a lot, but it's funny because like it is true, Breath of the Wild has like an open world and lots of open free movement and all these like things, but it has very, very good movement options for blindfolded. Like there is so much normalized movement that you can do. And there's actually lots of ways to make like the camera stable and like to manipulate enemies and stuff. So it is in that sense really friendly for blindfolded runs, which is very, very cool. It's a game you would really not think about when you think of blindfolded speedruns, but it does work.
Blindfolded speedrunning is very impressive, especially with there being spots you can go to confirm where you are in a room or level. But even with all this, there'd be skeptics unsure if they're even doing this at all without looking.
Well, where do I start with this even? So before anything, I know there is a shaky history because there is this one very viral video, especially of the SM64 guy who by the way, faked his run. I think at this point 3 minutes slower than my PB. Just want to throw that out. Not giving shade here to anyone. But yeah, he faked this run and he went super viral, like millions of views on YouTube, and everyone reacted to it. And these kind of incidents, unfortunately, always make the blindfolded community look a bit suspicious because, yeah, you lose trust after such incidents, I guess. But funnily enough, I think in the past 5 years, we had like maybe 1 or 2 cheating incidents over like all games, not only Mario. So it really is not that much as it seems online. I guess if something happens, then it gets viral because, yeah, it's such a crazy niche and stuff.
Right, it gets blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I do have every single day new YouTube comments about that this is fake. On Twitch, at this point, honestly, not that much because I guess I established myself as legit. I was at so many live events now. I was in person at events. I was online at events. I have done shorts doing it with my face to the wall, with the controller behind my head, with the monitor behind me. And like, I think at this point, people just know my name and they like, okay, yeah, this guy is probably legit. But people who've never seen it, like, there's always a comment, yeah, I don't believe this. Every single YouTube video I post, like, oh, dude, how can anyone believe this is real? And all these things. I know myself that these threads that I do at this point are so high level and they look so fluid and so fast that I honestly don't blame them, you know? Like, if I would not have seen any blindfolded speedrun before in my life, and then someone shows me this guy, it's like, yeah, sure, dude.
Yeah.
So I get where it comes from. I am totally fine with it. What I do not like is that other blindfolded runners, like much smaller ones than me, that like maybe just started or so, they also get some kind of hate comments because I myself, I don't care. But if like some new person to the community like really puts his heart into like a new game and tries to blindfold it one stage and then gets like 3 YouTube comments back to back saying like, yeah, no, this sucks, you're faking it and all, that's just rude, in my opinion. The very unfortunate point is that cheater incidents do bring clout. It's a double-edged sword, really, because on one hand, it does bring the shadiness to the community, like people start to be skeptic about what we do. But on the other hand, I have to completely honestly say that blindfolded cheater video of this Mario guy, without him, I really doubt that the Mario community would be as far as it is today, if not for him, because so many new people came to the community and learned about blindfolded speedruns and stuff. So he definitely pulled a whole lot of eyes onto blindfolded speedruns that previously were not there. Not to give shoutouts to the cheater, you know, that's never good, but there's in everything in life like positives and negatives, I guess.
I'm curious, so you're so used to playing pretty much in the dark, right? Especially for longer periods of time. Do you always get pain or whatever, like taking off your blindfold and getting flashbanged by light all around you? Like,
at home, not really. At GDQ when I was, for example, at like live events, especially last GDQ when I was there, I had my blindfold on and I took it off, you know. dude, they had like these studio lights, you know, these tripods, these like big monitors full of light in front of you. Holy, when I took the blindfold off, I thought I'd go blind for real, dude. Like, those were bright, man. But at home, I guess I'm like used to my lighting setup at home, so it doesn't really happen that often, no.
I'm assuming it was harder when you first started doing blindfold runs.
Oh yeah, especially exhaustion-wise, because blindfolded runs are extremely exhausting mentally, or like maybe even physically. But it's very, very tiring because your brain works on overdrive mode constantly. That back in the days, I did one run, one attempt, and I was KO. I felt as if I ran a marathon or something. It definitely improves over time too, but it is definitely not an easy task on the mind and the body, I guess.
Now for 10 months straight, Bubzia had been working at trying to get the world's first blindfolded 16-star run of Super Mario 64 in under 20 minutes. Or sub 20 as it's known in the speedrun world. Eventually, through enough grinding, even learning from new mistakes, he was finally able to achieve his goal.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Now, you've got the sub 20 in 16-star. Would you want to continue to lower the 16-star time, or would you say you're content with where you are in that category right now?
So... yeah, I'm definitely content. It was my goal for a long time, and I mean, it was the goal for the community to get a sub 20 run. Like, it was thought of absolutely impossible like last year, and now we're here. And I unfortunately have proven that I could get a sub 19 because I just had some god runs where I entered the end game with the best possible time of 1850 something. But it can definitely still be improved. I wouldn't say the run is like perfect at all. Okay, it's gonna be hard, but it's not gonna be that hard. But I now just don't have the motivation because I'm content with the time, as I said. So I'll probably jump to other categories first and then eventually come back and do more 16, which is probably also the right choice. I am routing 70 star now again for improving the record, and during the 1 week I've been doing 70 star, we have found, I think, 3 new time saves for 16 star.
What?
So it just happens naturally, I guess, when you optimize stuff. So we have a completely new star now that we could get, which is an LLL, the lava boost, which is now viable in runs suddenly.
The lava boost? Oh man.
Yep.
The reason why I'm so surprised is because this lava boost strategy can already be hard enough to begin with, even when you can see, but the fact that he may have enough confidence to collect the star in future runs is beyond me. It makes use of the height Mario gets when burning himself on lava. Chaining together 2 burns in just the right spots of this lava fall will get him much further up the volcano where the star is. One tiny mistake in any part of the strategy can lead you to death.
So lava boost could be in 16 star. I assume while I route 70 star now, we will still find some other improvements. And yeah, I will be back one day for sure, I think.
So, one final question. Would you have any words of encouragement for those looking to do their own blindfolded runs?
Yes, absolutely. The biggest one that I can give you is just try it out. It is super, super fun, and it is not as hard and intimidating as you in the first glance think it is. I promise it. So especially if you have a game that you love and a game that like you kind of know well, especially yourself. For example, if you since your childhood love Chameleon Twist on the N64 or something, then don't go for games that are just popular like Mario 64. Take a game, if you want to blindfold it, that you really like. Don't worry about the controls or anything. Just it matters that you like the game because you will spend a lot of time on it. Because blindfolded runs, unfortunately, are pretty time consuming in preparation and stuff. But that preparation is the fun part. Start small. Don't instantly aim for the whole run maybe, but like try to beat one stage, one boss maybe, and see what happens from there. And I can promise you it's very, very fun and very rewarding.
While it seems ridiculous to beat a game without looking, when you factor in things like having normalized moves and positions, and even counting the beat of the music in the background, along with any other type of cues, it starts to sound more and more feasible. Of course it can still be difficult, and for most games, luck is bound to have some part in it, but if you want something badly enough, then just think of the challenges as part of the process. Even if you're not looking to do your own blindfolded run, then I hope this video helped you appreciate more what these gamers are able to do. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, share your thoughts in the comments below. But with that being said, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care and peace.